The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of the solar system without warning. It was beautiful in a way that made human observers uncomfortable. The vessel seemed to glow with its own light, covered in symbols that shifted and changed as they watched. This was the Eternal Mandate, flagship of the Galactic Council, and it had come with a message for humanity. Ambassador Helen Price stood on the observation deck of Unity Point, Earth's newest orbital station, watching the alien ship approach. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Next to her stood Commander Jake Morris, a younger man in his military uniform, his hand resting unconsciously near his sidearm. "They're here," Helen said quietly. "I hope we're ready for this," Jake nodded. "The question is, are they ready for us?" The alien delegation arrived in a smaller craft that moved with impossible grace. When they boarded Unity Point, humans got their first close look at the Galactic Council's representatives. The leader was called Vexthor, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Caltharians, had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. To him, humans were children playing with dangerous toys. The meeting took place in a large conference room. President Karen Foster sat at the head of the table, flanked by military and civilian advisors. General Adam Clark, a veteran soldier with white hair and a scarred face, watched the aliens with careful eyes. He had fought in wars across Earth and knew the look of someone who thought they had already won. Vexthor spoke through a translation device that made his words sound cold and mechanical. "People of Earth, the Galactic Council greets you. We have observed your species for some time. You have developed faster than light travel. You have built weapons. You have spread to other worlds in your system. This brings you to our attention." Helen leaned forward. "We're honored by your visit, Ambassador. Earth looks forward to joining the galactic community. That is why we are here," Vexthor continued. "However, entry into civilized space requires certain conditions. You must reduce your military forces by 90%. You must surrender all faster-than-light technology to Council oversight. You must accept protectorate status under Council supervision. These terms are not negotiable." The room went silent. General Clark's jaw tightened. President Foster's expression didn't change, but her hands gripped the armrests of her chair. "And if we refuse?" Helen asked, her voice steady. Vexthor made a gesture that might have been surprise. "Refusal is not expected. No species has ever refused. But if you do, the Council will enforce compliance. We will arrive with our fleet. Your cities will be targeted. Your military will be destroyed. Your people will learn the cost of defiance. This is not a threat. It is simply how things are done." He activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air showing other worlds, other species. Some had accepted the Council's terms peacefully. Others had resisted. The images of resistance showed burning cities, destroyed ships, populations kneeling in surrender. The message was clear: the Council always won. "You have 30 days, Vexthor said. Send your answer to these coordinates. Choose wisely." The aliens left as smoothly as they had arrived. When they were gone, the room erupted in angry voices. President Foster held up her hand for silence. "General Clark, what are our options?" The old soldier stood slowly. "Militarily? They outgun us badly. Their technology is centuries ahead. They have thousands of ships. We have hundreds. In a straight fight we lose. But," Helen prompted. She knew Clark better than that. "But," Clark continued, "our intelligence suggests something interesting. The Council hasn't fought a real war in 3,000 years. They keep the peace through fear and overwhelming force. Most of their member species gave up their military traditions generations ago. Their ships are advanced, but they're run by artificial intelligence with organic officers just watching. They've forgotten how to actually fight." Jake Morris spoke up. "We've been analyzing their ship movements and communications. They're predictable. They follow patterns. They expect everyone to follow rules." President Foster looked around the table. "What are you suggesting?" "We've been building new ships in secret," Clark said. "Reverse engineering alien technology we've acquired through various means. We have weapons they don't expect, railguns that can punch through their shields, missiles that move too fast for their defenses. And we have something they lost a long time ago." "What's that?" the president asked. "People who know how to fight when they're outmatched. People who get creative when they're desperate. People who refuse to quit." Over the next week, meetings happened behind closed doors. Military leaders gathered at hidden bases. Scientists worked around the clock. Captain Danny Brooks, a young officer with steady hands and a quick mind, received orders to take his ship, the Defiance, into deep space for final testing. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Nina Wells, checked and rechecked every system. "Do you think we can actually win this?" Nina asked him one night on the bridge. Danny looked out at the stars. "I think if we don't try, we've already lost. My grandfather used to say that freedom isn't free. Someone always has to pay the price. Maybe it's our turn." The 30th day arrived. Vexthor waited at the designated coordinates, confident he would receive Earth's surrender. Instead, Ambassador Helen Price appeared on his view screen, broadcasting from Earth. "Ambassador Vexthor," she said, her voice calm and clear. "Earth has considered the Council's generous offer. Our answer is no. We will not disarm. We will not surrender our technology. We will not kneel. If the Council wants our freedom, they'll have to take it. And we promise you this: we will make you pay for every inch." Vexthor stared at the screen in disbelief. In 10,000 years of Council history, no species had ever said no. Not like this, not with such certainty. "You do not understand what you have done," he said. "The Council fleet will come. You will be crushed. Your world will burn." Helen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Then come. We'll be waiting." The transmission ended. Vexthor immediately sent an emergency message to the Council headquarters. The response came within hours. "Assemble the enforcement fleet. Make an example of Earth. Show the galaxy what happens to those who refuse." On Earth, President Foster addressed the world. "My fellow humans, the Council has rejected peace. They demand our surrender. They threaten our homes. They think we will break. They think we will bow. They are wrong. Starting today, we are at war. Not a war we wanted, but a war we will fight. We will show the Council and the galaxy that humanity does not surrender. We do not give up. We do not quit." In orbital shipyards around Earth, Mars, and the Moon, the lights burned day and night. New warships, crude compared to Council vessels but armed with human determination and ingenuity, rolled off assembly lines. Crews trained in tactics designed to fight enemies with better technology. Weapons were loaded. Plans were made. Captain Brooks stood on the bridge of the Defiance watching 3 sister ships maneuver nearby. They were the tip of the spear, the first line of defense. Behind them, hundreds more ships prepared for battle. "All ships report ready," his second officer, Major Lisa Grant, reported. "We're good to go," Danny nodded. "Then let's go meet our guests. Time to show the Council what humans are made of." The Defiance and her sister ships jumped to hyperspace, heading for the outer system. Behind them, Earth waited. Humanity held its breath. The war was about to begin. In the cold darkness of space, the Council fleet assembled. 200 warships, gleaming and powerful, prepared to jump to Earth's system. They expected an easy victory. They expected surrender. They expected humanity to break. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Council chambers on Axis Prime were ancient beyond human understanding. The building had stood for 12,000 years, housing the leaders of 47 alien civilizations. Today, those chambers buzzed with confusion and amusement. High Chancellor Morden, a being so old that some thought he remembered the creation of the Council itself, sat on his elevated throne. His body was partially mechanical now, keeping his ancient mind alive. He listened as his advisors discussed the human problem. They said no. One Council member laughed. The primitives actually said no. Military Coordinator Zephyrin stepped forward. He was younger than most Council leaders, only 200 years old with bright green scales and intelligent eyes. "Yes, Chancellor. Earth has rejected our terms. They claim they will fight." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Chancellor Mordon held up a hand for silence. "This is unfortunate but not unexpected. Young species often need to learn hard lessons. Zephyrin, prepare an enforcement fleet. Make it large enough to impress them. 200 ships should suffice." 200? Vexthor spoke from his position near the back. He had returned from Earth system looking troubled. "Chancellor, I recommend caution. The humans are not typical. All defiant species think they are special," Morden said dismissively. "All believe they can stand against the Council. All learn they cannot. You have your orders. Break their military. Occupy their world. Teach them obedience." Zephyrin bowed and left to carry out his orders. He had studied military history as a hobby, reading ancient accounts of the Council's last real war 3,000 years ago. Back then, the Council had faced an enemy that fought with cunning and desperation. That war had lasted 5 years and cost millions of lives. But that was ancient history. Modern Council forces had never faced serious opposition. The enforcement fleet assembled over the next week. 200 warships, each one a masterpiece of technology and art. Council ships were beautiful, with flowing lines and glowing hulls. They had been designed during centuries of peace, when showing power was more important than using it. Their weapons were powerful but slow to recharge. Their shields could stop almost any attack, but the ships themselves were not built to take damage. Why would they be? No one ever shot back. The crews that manned these ships came from a dozen different species. Most had joined the military for prestige, not combat. Military service in the Council was a respected career, but it was more ceremonial than dangerous. Officers attended meetings and ceremonies. They followed procedures written centuries ago. They had never seen real battle. Vexthor received command of the fleet, though he was not happy about it. He gathered his senior officers for a briefing before departure. The humans are not like other species, he told them. They are aggressive, creative, and they do not respect our authority. Do not underestimate them. His words were met with polite nods, but he could see the doubt in their eyes. These officers had spent their careers following peaceful protocols. They commanded ships run mostly by artificial intelligence. To them, war was something from history books, not something real. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the final preparations were underway. General Clark stood in a command center buried deep under the Rocky Mountains. Screens showed every ship, every weapon, every soldier in the Earth Defense Force. Status report, he ordered. An aide responded immediately. All orbital defense platforms are active. The shipyards have completed production. We now have 487 warships ready for combat. Captain Brooks and the Advance Force are in position near Mars orbit. Admiral Morris is coordinating planetary defenses, Clark nodded. Earth's warships were nothing like Council vessels. They were blocky and industrial, built for function rather than beauty. Human engineers had taken alien technology and combined it with human weapons. The result was crude but effective. Railguns that could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds, missiles that could outmaneuver enemy defenses, and most importantly, ships designed to take punishment and keep fighting. Captain Danny Brooks floated on the bridge of the Defiance, watching his crew work. They had been drilling constantly for weeks. Every officer knew their job. Every system had been tested and retested. Lieutenant Nina Wells appeared on his screen from the weapons deck. All systems green, Captain. The railguns are loaded and ready. Missiles are armed. We're good to go. How are the crew holding up? Danny asked. Nina smiled. They're scared, but they're also angry. Nobody likes being told to surrender. The crew wants this fight. Danny understood. He was scared too, but fear was good. Fear kept you sharp. Fear kept you alive. It was overconfidence that killed you. Major Lisa Grant, his second-in-command, floated over. Sir, long-range sensors are picking up something. Multiple hyperspace signatures. Lots of them. Here we go, Danny said quietly. Sound General Quarters. All ships, battle stations. This is not a drill. Alarms echoed through the Defiance and her sister ships. Crews rushed to their positions. Weapons powered up. Shields came online. 30 human warships hung in space near Mars, waiting. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in a perfect formation. 200 ships, all gleaming and beautiful, spreading out like a flower blooming in space. It was an intimidating sight, designed to make enemies surrender without fighting. On the Defiance's bridge, a young officer gasped. Sir, sensors count 200 enemy vessels. They outgun us 6-1. Danny nodded calmly. I can count. Helm, move us into position Alpha. Weapons, prepare to fire on my mark. Communications, send the signal to Admiral Morris. Tell him the party's started. Lisa looked at the tactical display. They're moving into encirclement formation. Classic Council doctrine. They're trying to surround us. Perfect, Danny said with a cold smile. That's exactly what we want them to do. Wait for it. On the Council flagship, Vexthor watched the human ships with growing unease. There were only 30 of them. They should be running. Instead, they were holding position, waiting. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the humans are not retreating. They appear to be waiting for us to advance. Curious, Vexthor muttered. Maintain formation. Advance slowly. Be ready for anything. The Council fleet moved forward in their perfect formation, shields overlapping, weapons ready. They moved with the confidence of a force that had never known defeat. Danny watched the enemy ships close in. Closer. Closer. Wait for it. His hand hovered over the command console. Now, he shouted. Space erupted with light. Hidden throughout the area around Mars, 120 additional human warships decloaked simultaneously. They had been there all along, using stealth technology the Council didn't know humans possessed. The trap had been set, and the Council had walked right into it. The human ships attacked from all directions at once. Railguns fired, sending metal projectiles screaming through space at impossible speeds. Missiles launched by the thousands. Human warships dove toward the enemy like wolves attacking prey. On the Council flagship, alarms blared. Multiple contacts. New ships decloaking all around us. We're surrounded! Vexthor stared at the tactical display in shock. The humans had tricked them. Ambushed them. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Council was never ambushed. The Council never walked into traps. All ships break formation, he ordered. Return fire. Defend yourselves! But the Council's perfect formation, designed for intimidation, became a liability. Ships crashed into each other trying to maneuver. Their AI systems, programmed for coordinated movement, struggled to adapt to chaos. Officers who had never seen combat froze, unsure what to do. The human ships had no such problems. They attacked with savage efficiency, targeting weapons and engines, hitting the same spots over and over until Council shields failed. When shields collapsed, human railguns tore through alien hulls like paper. Danny gripped his command chair as the Defiance shook from enemy fire. Keep hitting them! Don't let up. Target that cruiser, all weapons. The battle raged on, violent and chaotic. This wasn't the clean, organized warfare the Council remembered from their history. This was brutal, desperate, and real, and the Council was learning a hard lesson. Humans knew how to fight. The Battle of Mars' orbit was 6 hours old, and the space around the red planet had become a graveyard. Captain Danny Brooks watched his tactical display as another Council ship exploded, its shields finally failing under sustained fire from 3 human destroyers. The Defiance shook as enemy energy beams struck their hull, but the armor held. Human ships were built tough, designed to take punishment. Direct hit on Section 4, a damage control officer reported. Hull breach ceiling now, casualties reported. Danny gritted his teeth. Every time they lost someone, it felt like a knife in his gut. But there was no time to mourn. Keep firing. Target that battle cruiser. All railguns, continuous fire. The Defiance's main weapons thundered, though in the vacuum of space there was no sound. Solid metal slugs, each one weighing several tons, accelerated to incredible speeds. They slammed into the Council battlecruiser called Harmony's Light. The alien ship's shields flickered, weakened, and finally collapsed. Shields down on the target, Lieutenant Nina Wells shouted from the weapons station. Firing missiles. A dozen quantum disruption missiles launched from the Defiance. These were Nina's creation, designed specifically to fight Council ships. When they hit, they didn't just explode. They disrupted the target's power systems, causing cascading failures throughout the ship. The missiles found their target. The Harmony's lights flickered and died. The massive ship went dark, drifting helplessly. It was the first Council capital ship destroyed in over 3,000 years. On the Council flagship, Vexthor watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. His ships were taking losses they had never trained for, never imagined. The humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They attacked from multiple angles. They coordinated their strikes perfectly. They showed no hesitation, no mercy. Status report, he demanded. His tactical officer's hands shook as he read the data. 34 ships destroyed or disabled. Multiple ships reporting critical damage. The humans have us surrounded. Our formations are broken. Sir, we need to retreat. Retreat. The word tasted like poison. The Council did not retreat. The Council enforced peace. The Council always won. But looking at the tactical display, Vexthor knew they had no choice. All ships, he said, his voice heavy with defeat. Withdraw to Jupiter orbit. Maintain defensive fire. Retreat, but do it in order. The Council fleet began pulling back, but the humans were not done. They pursued, harassing the retreating aliens with long-range fire. More Council ships fell. Their engines crippled, their hulls breached. Major Lisa Grant coordinated the fighter squadrons from her position on the Defiance. All fighters target their engines. Don't let them escape cleanly. Make them pay for every mile. Human fighter craft, small and fast, swarmed around the larger Council ships. They were like angry bees attacking bears, individually weak but together deadly. They fired missiles at close range, targeting weak points in the alien armor. One Council destroyer, trying to turn and fight, found itself surrounded by fighters. Missiles struck its engine pods repeatedly until they exploded. The ship spun out of control, colliding with another Council vessel. Both ships broke apart, scattering debris across space. Danny finally gave the order to break off the pursuit. All ships hold position. Let them go. Damage report. The numbers came in slowly. 41 human ships destroyed. Thousands of crew members dead. Every surviving ship had damage. Some could barely move. But they had won. Against overwhelming odds, they had won. Sir, the communications officer said quietly. The Valiant didn't make it. All hands lost. Danny closed his eyes. The Valiant had been a destroyer, carrying 400 people. Good people. People with families. People who would never go home. He forced himself to open his eyes and look at his crew. Mark their names, he said. Every single one. They died protecting Earth. They died free. That means something. As the human fleet regrouped, repair crews worked frantically to patch holes and restart damaged systems. Medical teams moved between ships, treating the wounded. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. On Earth, General Clark watched the battle reports in the command center. When the final numbers came through, he allowed himself a small smile. We hurt them, he said to Admiral Jake Morris, who had coordinated the defense from Earth orbit. We hurt them badly, Jake nodded. They weren't ready for a real fight. Their tactics were outdated. Their crews panicked when things didn't go according to plan. But Clark, they'll adapt. Next time will be harder. I know, Clark said. But we proved something today. We proved we can fight them. We proved we can win. President Karen Foster appeared on the main screen broadcasting from the White House. Behind her, crowds filled the streets, celebrating the victory. General Clark, is it true? Did we really beat them? We won the battle, Madam President. The Council fleet has retreated to Jupiter. We bloodied their nose. But this isn't over. They'll be back with more ships, better tactics. We need to be ready. Foster nodded. Whatever you need, you'll have it. The whole world is behind you now. Before today, some people wanted to surrender. Now everyone wants to fight. Back near Mars, Danny stood on the Defiance's observation deck looking at the debris field. Pieces of ships, both human and alien, drifted in the darkness. Each piece represented lives lost, dreams ended. Nina found him there. Her hands were still shaking slightly from the adrenaline. We did it, Captain. We actually did it. At what cost? Danny asked quietly. 4,000 people dead. 41 ships destroyed. Was it worth it? Nina looked at him with fierce eyes. If we had surrendered, we would have lost everything. Our freedom. Our future. Our right to choose our own path. Those 4,000 people knew what they were fighting for. They chose to stand and fight rather than kneel. Yes, Captain. It was worth it. Danny wanted to believe her. He needed to believe her. Because if this wasn't worth it, then what were they doing? At Jupiter orbit, the Council fleet licked its wounds. Repair drones swarmed over damaged ships. Medical teams treated injured crew, and Vex Thor stood on his bridge, staring at nothing. His second-in-command approached carefully. Sir, we should send a report to the Council. Tell them what? Vex Thor asked bitterly. Tell them we underestimated the humans? Tell them we lost 34 ships to primitives? Tell them that for the first time in 3,000 years, the Council fleet ran away from battle? Tell them the truth, his officer said. Tell them Earth is not what we thought. Tell them we need more ships, more planning, more respect for our enemy. Vex Thor sent the message knowing it would not be received well. The Council would not want to hear that they had been wrong. They would not want to admit that humans were dangerous. But the evidence floated in the space around Mars. Destroyed Council ships. Proof that the impossible had happened. Proof that humanity would not surrender. On Earth, the celebrations continued. People danced in the streets. They waved flags. They chanted the names of their heroes. Captain Brooks, Lieutenant Wells, General Clark, the crew of the Valiant. But in the military command centers, the leaders knew better. This was just the beginning. The Council would not accept defeat. They would come back angrier, stronger, more prepared. General Clark issued new orders. Double production on all shipyards. I want 500 new ships within 2 months. Train every pilot we have. Develop new weapons. Improve our shields. We won the first round. Now we prepare for the second. Around Earth, Mars, and the Moon, the lights in the orbital shipyards burned brighter. Humanity had tasted victory. Now they needed to make sure it wasn't their last. The war was far from over. If anything, it had just truly begun. 6 weeks after the Battle of Mars orbit, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Chancellor. Morden looked older than his 12,000 years. The defeat at Mars had shaken the foundations of Council authority. Vexthor has failed us, declared one council member. He allowed primitives to humiliate our fleet. Morden raised a withered hand. Vexthor followed our standard protocols. Those protocols failed against an enemy that does not follow the rules. We need a different approach. We need someone who remembers how to wage real war. A figure stepped forward from the shadows. Fleet Commander Kratos was a legend from the ancient days. A warrior who had fought in the Council's last true war. He was scarred, battle-hardened, and unlike most Council members, he did not underestimate humans. "Give me 600 ships," Kratos said, his voice like grinding metal. "Give me authority to wage war as it must be waged. I will break Earth's defenses and bring humanity to heel. But do not expect it to be quick or clean." The Council granted him everything he asked for. Within days, a massive fleet assembled. This time, the crews were different. Kratos had called in veterans from across Council space, officers who had seen combat, even if it was only against pirates and raiders. He drilled them relentlessly, preparing them for an enemy that fought with cunning and desperation. Meanwhile, Earth had not been idle. Captain Danny Brooks, now promoted to Commodore, commanded the Third Fleet from his new flagship, the Indomitable. The ship was larger than the Defiance, bristling with weapons that had been improved based on lessons from the first battle. Lieutenant Nina Wells had been promoted too. Now chief weapons designer for all Earth forces, she worked 20-hour days developing new systems. Her latest creation was a computer virus designed specifically to attack Council ship networks. The Council links all their ships together for coordination, she explained to Admiral Jake Morris. It makes them efficient, but it's also a weakness. If we can get this virus into their network, it will spread like wildfire. Morris studied the technical specifications. How do we deliver it? We need to get close to one of their ships. Upload the virus directly. It's a suicide mission. Morris nodded grimly. I'll find volunteers. We have plenty of people willing to die for Earth. The Council's second fleet arrived at the Kuiper Belt, the outer edge of Earth's solar system. Kratos had learned from Vexthor's mistakes. He did not rush forward. Instead, he formed his fleet into a defensive formation, shields overlapping, ready for ambush. "Advance slowly," he ordered. "Long-range bombardment only. We will destroy their orbital facilities from a distance, then move in to finish them." Commodore Brooks watched the enemy fleet approach. 300 human ships spread throughout the Kuiper Belt, using asteroids for cover. This time there would be no surprise, no ambush. This would be a straight fight, and humans were badly outnumbered. They learned from last time. Major Lisa Grant observed from her position commanding a destroyer squadron. "They're not falling for our tricks." "Then we adapt," Danny said. "All ships engage at will. No fancy maneuvers. We hit them hard and don't stop." The battle began with long-range fire. Council ships launched energy beams that took minutes to reach their targets. Human railguns fired back, hurling metal across millions of miles. It was slow, grinding warfare, nothing like the chaotic battle at Mars. For 3 days, the two fleets hammered each other. Ships on both sides took damage, burned, and died. There were no clever tactics, no brilliant maneuvers. Just two forces locked in brutal combat, each trying to destroy the other through sheer firepower. On the Indomitable, Danny watched the casualty reports mount. 50 ships lost, 70, 90, they were losing slowly but surely. The Council had more ships, more firepower. Mathematics said Earth would lose. That's when Admiral Morris contacted him with Nina's plan. "We have a ship ready to make the run," Morris said. "The frigate Courage, commanded by Captain Ryan Walsh. He's volunteered to get close enough to upload the virus." Danny knew Walsh. A good officer. A good man, with a wife and 2 kids back on Earth. Does he understand this is one way? He understands. He says if it gives Earth a chance, it's worth it. Danny closed his eyes. Another name for the memorial. Another family without a father, but if they didn't try something, they would all die anyway. Do it, and God be with him. The Courage broke from the human formation and accelerated toward the Council fleet. Enemy fire converged on the small ship. Its shields failed within minutes. Armor melted under energy beams. But Walsh kept going, pushing his dying ship forward. Approaching the flagship, Walsh reported, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. Uploading virus now. Tell my family I love them. The Courage's reactors exploded, taking the ship and its crew of 83 with it. But in its final moments, the virus had been uploaded into the Council flagship's computers. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the flagship's lights flickered. Its shields dropped, and the virus began spreading through the Council network, jumping from ship to ship through their linked systems. Kratos watched in horror as his fleet's coordination fell apart. Ships lost power. Weapons stopped firing. Shields collapsed. The virus was crude but effective, overwhelming the Council's sophisticated systems with sheer digital chaos. All ships disconnect from the network, he ordered. But it was too late. The virus had already spread to over 100 ships. Now, Danny shouted. All ships, full attack! Hit them while they're blind! The human fleet surged forward. Railguns fired at maximum rate. Missiles launched by the thousands. They targeted the disabled ships first, destroying them before their systems could reset. Major Grant led her squadron in a daring attack on the Council heavy cruiser Ascendance. The alien ship was dead in space, its crew frantically trying to restart systems. Human Marines in armored suits breached the hull and fought their way inside. The battle inside the Ascendance was fierce. Council crew members, trained for ceremonial duty, fought with whatever weapons they had. But human Marines were experienced in close combat. Within 2 hours, they had control of the ship. Ascendance is ours, Grant reported. We have intact Council technology to study. And prisoners, the tide of battle had turned. The Council fleet, disorganized and damaged, began to withdraw. Kratos watched his perfect plan fall apart. The humans had done it again. They had found a weakness and exploited it ruthlessly. Retreat to the asteroid belt, he ordered. Regroup and repair. We will try again. But as his fleet withdrew, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. Doubt. Could the Council actually lose this war? The Battle of the Kuiper Belt ended in what military analysts called a draw. Both sides had taken heavy losses. Neither had achieved their objective. But strategically it was a human victory. They had stopped the Council's advance. They had proven they could stand against overwhelming force. More importantly, they had captured a Council ship. Earth's scientists immediately began studying every system, every weapon, every piece of technology they could find. President Foster authorized Operation Homeward Strike. Earth would no longer fight defensively. They would take the war to Council space. Admiral Susan Park, a tough woman who had commanded Earth's Mars defense, received orders to lead 50 ships on raids against Council supply lines. Her mission was simple: make the Council hurt. Make them understand that this war would cost them dearly. Danny stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at a star map showing Council territories. The war had escalated beyond anyone's expectations. Both sides were now committed. There could be no negotiation, no compromise. Only victory or defeat. Plot a course to Council space, he ordered. We're not waiting for them to come to us anymore. The war was entering a new phase, and humanity was done playing defense. 4 months into the war, the galaxy had changed. Admiral Susan Park's raids on Council supply lines had been devastatingly successful. She had captured 3 Council colonies, destroyed dozens of supply ships, and proven that Council space was not safe from human attack. The Council's response was total mobilization. Every member species contributed ships. The final count was staggering. Over 2,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in Council history. High Chancellor Mordan had been replaced by a war council that demanded one thing: crush humanity completely. Fleet Commander Kratos stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying reports of human raids. He had come to respect his enemy. They were brave, creative, and absolutely refused to accept defeat. In another time, another place, he might have admired them. Now he had orders to destroy them. We will strike at Earth itself, he announced to his senior officers. No more small battles. No more raids. We end this war by taking their homeworld. Gather the entire fleet. We jump to Earth system in 1 week. On Earth, General Adam Clark received intelligence about the coming attack. Every spy, every scout, every intelligence asset confirmed it. The Council was coming with everything they had. How many ships can we field? President Karen Foster asked during an emergency meeting. 800, Clark replied. Every ship we've built, captured, or repaired. It's not enough. It has to be enough, Foster said firmly. We've come too far to surrender now. Commodore Danny Brooks received orders to bring the entire Third Fleet back to Earth. As his ships jumped through hyperspace, he thought about how far humanity had come. They had gone from a species threatened with enslavement to a force that made the Council fear. Lieutenant Nina Wells was back on the Indomitable as Chief Weapons Officer. She had one final weapon to deploy, a network of quantum-entangled mines hidden throughout Earth's system. When activated, they would create artificial gravity wells that would disrupt Council ship formations. Will it work? Danny asked her. Honestly, I don't know. We've never tested it at this scale. But if it doesn't work, we're done anyway. Might as well try. The day the Council fleet arrived was clear and bright on Earth. People looked up at the sky, knowing that somewhere beyond the blue their fate was being decided. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Over 2,000 ships stretching across millions of miles, it was the most powerful military force ever assembled. They had come to end the war. Kratos surveyed the human defenses with his experienced eye. 800 ships arranged in defensive positions around Earth. Orbital weapons platforms, fighter squadrons. They would fight hard, but mathematics said they would lose. All ships, he broadcast, commence attack. Target their orbital facilities first. Break their defenses, then move on the planet itself. The battle for Earth began. Human and Council ships clashed in the largest space battle in history. Over 2,800 vessels fought in the space around humanity's homeworld. The scale was beyond comprehension. Entire fleets were destroyed in minutes, the void filled with debris, bodies, and the wreckage of war. Danny commanded the defense from the Indomitable, coordinating hundreds of ships while fighting his own battle. All ships, Wolfpack tactics. 3 ships per Council cruiser. Don't let them form up. Major Lisa Grant led a desperate assault on a Council battleship, her destroyer squadron firing everything they had. Keep hitting them. Don't stop. For Earth. On Mars, the Council bombarded the colonies. Domes cracked. Cities burned. Millions of colonists evacuated to underground shelters while the surface was destroyed. The Moon's bases came under attack next. Humanity's off-world settlements were being systematically destroyed. Nina watched her tactical display with growing desperation. They were losing. For every Council ship destroyed, they lost 2 human vessels. The mathematics were against them. Deploy the mines, Danny ordered. Do it now. Nina activated the quantum network. Throughout Earth's system, thousands of mines activated simultaneously. Space itself seemed to ripple as artificial gravity wells formed, disrupting the careful formations of Council ships. Council vessels found themselves pulled off course, colliding with each other, their coordination destroyed. The massive fleet became a confused mob of ships struggling against invisible forces. All ships attack now, Danny ordered. Hit them while they're disorganized. The human fleet surged forward, exploiting the chaos. But even with the mines, the odds were still against them. Too many Council ships. Not enough human vessels. That's when everything changed. A new fleet emerged from hyperspace. But these ships weren't human. They were Council vessels, flying the colors of the Valerian Harmony and 6 other Council species. The lead Valerian ship broadcast on all frequencies. This war must end. We will not stand by while the Council destroys a species fighting for its freedom. We will not fire on humans. Any Council ship that continues the attack will answer to us. The Council fleet was split. Some species sided with the Valerians. Others remained loyal to the War Council. Ships that had fought together for months now turned weapons on each other. Kratos watched his fleet fall apart. The political unity of the Council was breaking. Species were choosing sides. The war had spread beyond Earth and the Council. It had become a galactic civil war. He opened a channel to Danny. Human Commander, I request a ceasefire. We need to talk. Danny looked at his crew. They were exhausted, wounded, barely holding on. He looked at Earth below, scarred but still alive. Agreed. Ceasefire. Send your terms. The fighting stopped. Ships from 3 different factions floated in space. Weapons ready but silent. On Earth, people emerged from shelters to see the sky filled with warships, both friend and enemy. Ambassador Helen Price, who had been conducting secret negotiations throughout the war, flew to the Indomitable. Kratos came too, along with representatives from the Valerian Harmony and other species. The Treaty of Terra was negotiated over 3 days. The terms were simple. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign power with full rights in galactic society. The Council's policy of forced protectorate status would end. Humanity would receive a seat on the Council as an equal member. The war was over. The final casualty count was staggering. 47,000 humans dead. Over 300,000 Council personnel killed. Hundreds of ships destroyed on both sides. Cities damaged. Colonies burned. Danny stood at a memorial ceremony a month later. Names were carved into black stone. Thousands upon thousands of them. People who had died defending Earth's freedom. Kratos came to pay his respects, standing next to Danny in silence. After a long moment, the alien commander spoke. "Your species taught us something we had forgotten. That freedom is worth any price. That some things are more important than peace." Danny nodded. "We just did what anyone would do. We fought for our home, for our right to choose our own future." "Not anyone," Kratos said quietly. "Most species we encountered chose survival over freedom. You chose differently. The galaxy is better for it." 10 years later, Earth had become a center of galactic commerce and culture. Human-designed warships served in peacekeeping fleets across the galaxy. The Council had reformed, becoming more democratic, more respectful of member species' rights. Admiral Nina Wells stood at a shipyard, christening a new vessel. The Unity was a joint project, designed by human and Council engineers working together. It represented what could be accomplished when species cooperated rather than dominated. "They expected us to surrender," Nina said in her speech. "Instead, we taught them that some things are worth fighting for. This ship reminds us that peace is precious because we know the cost of war. We know what we paid for our freedom. And we know we would pay it again if we had to." The crowd cheered. Among them stood veterans from both sides, former enemies, now friends. The war had changed everyone. The Council had learned humility. Humanity had learned it belonged among the stars. Danny, now retired, watched the ceremony from his home. He thought about all the people who had died, all the sacrifices made. He thought about whether it had been worth it. Then he looked at his children playing in the yard, free citizens of Earth and the galaxy. Free to choose their own paths, free to live without fear of domination. Yes, he thought, it was worth it. The Council had expected humanity to surrender. Instead, humanity had shown the galaxy that freedom was not given. It was earned. It was fought for. It was defended, and once earned, it would never be surrendered again.